10 music trends. Have you seen the new music videos everyone is talking about? Do you know how your favorite artist makes their music? I'm moving, but they be bluffing and puffing and they be screaming and yapping, some even feeling and bragging. First thing is, I'm patient. That talented upcoming artist in your area needs the spotlight. Let them be. Do you have any questions about music? I'm Jason Delay, and I'm a music plug on MX Chart right here on MX24.
Oh my God.
Join us in celebrating 13 months of giving you fun, fearless, and factual content.
I love it.
As we unveil a new bouquet of shows, amazing events, and incredible giveaways. Stay tuned over the next couple weeks as we turn things up. Scan your DVB T2 compatible TV or multi-TV decoder to MX24. Or stay up to date with us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. MX at 1.3. Let there be fun. Celebrating 13 months of fun, fearless, and factual content.
Hello?
It's been a great first year, from the engaging shows that are now part of your daily routine.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Spotlight. It's Wednesday, 5 p.m. and we're bringing you relevant conversations. My name is Noong Falong and you're watching Spotlight on MX24 television. Now, can an economy be transformed through digitalization? And more importantly, can Ghana be transformed through digitalization projects that were outlined by the Vice President of Ghana yesterday, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia, at the Ashesi University? What is achievable and feasible where this country is concerned? We're going to be looking at the highlights of his speech and finding out from people. We're joined by an economist, Daniel Enim, a tech expert, Maximus Sametogo, a member of the NPP's communications team, Ellen Amadaku. She's going to be joining us shortly in the studio. And then there's Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC, Edem Agbana. We're also joined by Mohammed Muntaka Abdul Rahman. He is an economist. Please stay with us. We're going for a quick break. When we come back, Spotlight continues. Welcome back to Spotlight. Thank you for staying. As mentioned before we went on that break, we are talking to the highlights of the Vice President's speech yesterday concerning government's digitalization efforts. And we're joined already on the line. We have Maximus Sametogo. He's a tech expert, and he's already on the line. We also have Mohammed Muntaka Abdul Rahman, who's an economist. Ellen is running slightly late, but she'll be joining us shortly. Gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to Spotlight. Can you hear me?
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
If you can hear me, please unmute yourself because we can't hear you over here.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me?
Maximus, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Muntaka, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm here.
Anyway, you at home, I don't know if you listened to the Vice President's speech yesterday. We have some highlights of it. Let's just take that and quickly come back to the conversation. All righty, we have our guests back on the line now. I think the line has stabilized. Maximus, are you there? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Fantastic. Now I can hear you. I couldn't hear you
I'm
before.
here, yes.
Okay,
Right.
Muntaka, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. I understand Daniel Enim has also joined, our other economist. Hello, Daniel. Can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you.
Fantastic. You all sound very clear.
I can hear you.
We also have on the line Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC. Edem Agbana, are you there? Okay, we're still trying to establish contact with Edem. He should be joining us shortly. Will be joining us shortly. Now, let's just take a quick summary of what the Vice President spoke about yesterday, and then we can come back to the conversation.
The goal upon assumption of office was to quickly transform our economy by leveraging on the technological innovations as a means to leapfrog the development process, overcome the legacy problems, and improve both economic and public sector governance. This is why digitalization has been a major focus of the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government. Unfortunately, many people still do not appreciate the link between digitalization and economic development. I've heard some people even ask why I have abandoned economics for digitalization. Far from abandoning economics, the reality is that in this era of the fourth industrial revolution, if you don't digitalize your economy, you will not have much of an economy left, period. A few days ago, the World Bank President, David Malpass, at the recently concluded G20 summit, stated, and I quote, "Without digitalization, we won't be able to reap the full benefits of human progress." This is the World Bank President. That without digitalization, we will not be able to reap the full benefits of human progress. This statement is a validation of why Ghana has rightly focused on digitalization in the last 5 years. Ghana has actually been ahead of the curve on digitalization. Our strategy since 2017 has been to build a new system through digital transformation. What are the elements of this new system for digital transformation? We set out, under the direction of the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, we set out to build a system with unique identification numbers for the population, a system with addresses for all properties and locations, a system that is transparent and promotes accountability, a system that is inclusive, a system that provides efficient public services delivery and tackles corruption. a system that improves efficiency in the health and education sectors, and a system that provides financial inclusion and a cash-light economy. Finally, a system that enhances domestic revenue mobilization or tax collection.
University outlining some digitalization efforts that his office is trying to achieve. Among the points he touched on transportation, security, national identification. We also know he mentioned some Google integration with Ghana Post GPS. An ECD on the way is one of the highlights of his speech. He also mentioned that newborns will soon be issued with the national ID card, barely 3 weeks after they are born. He also talked about making it easier for Ghanaians abroad to travel to Ghana with just their national ID card. He also spoke about digitizing folders in government hospitals just to cut out a chunk of the paperwork. Let me go to our guests. We have the economists, two economists, in fact. Good thing, because I'm just going to find out from them quickly. The Vice President made a link. Let me come to you, Muntaka. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Now, yesterday, he made a link between digitizing the economy and national development. What's the link over there?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners as well. Digitization and development.
What role does digitization play?
They are interlinking. They are interlinking. They depend on each other. And when you look at most economies that have developed, you can tell clearly that their digital platforms are way, way advanced. They have data of everybody. When the data is there, that will help you formulate your economic policies very well. It will also help you to understand what is happening within your own environment. At the same time, if you want to put out a social intervention, the data available will help you plan properly. So digitization, in essence, is a very good tool that will streamline development very fast. And it also comes with its own challenges, but in a nutshell, digitization and development move hand in hand. Because we all talk about globalization. That is digitalization. Because if we don't have advances in technology in terms of moving from the old system of doing to a modern one, where people can access information easily, they can go about their business easily, register a business, do a whole lot of things online, which makes them easy, save time, and also improve productivity. Then we can't develop. Our development, not that we can't develop, our development will be slower. So with the coming on of this digitalization platform, I hope that Ghanaians will be able to exploit it properly to be able to advance the development that we all want as a country.
Yesterday, someone made a remark about how we intend to include the unlettered population in this drive. How is that going to work? Because this seems like putting everything online. What about the people who can't read and write? Is there a way in which they can be integrated into this drive?
Definitely. I think that is where the job of the, the NCC comes in. And the informal department, the informal sector of the, the NCC in particular, they have to champion this particular agenda, try to educate the unlettered how to use. Most of the unlettered people are using phones. They know how to use WhatsApp. They know how to make voice calls and also make voice notes and send them. So at least when you make a demonstration on how they can access some of the some of the services that is being provided by the digitalization, they can do it. For example, if within the health sector, if they're able to develop it well, where people can pick or take an appointment, at least the person knows that, okay, when I go into the app, I can press this and that, and then I can pick an appointment. I think so. The adult education, yes, that is the word I was looking for. The adult education sector can also, in the in the MMDAs, that is their job. They can educate people, go to the villages, do more sensitization for people to understand how these things work and how they can access it. And I think that is a good thing. They can bring them on board.
Right. Thank you, Muntaka. Let me pull in the tech expert, Maximus. Muntaka just mentioned data as part of the digitization plan and how data makes it easier to plan the economy. What's the role that data is playing in this digitization agenda?
Yeah, so the data in the simplest sense, data drives the economics of technology, right? So you would know maybe you have a population of 30 million people and maybe 17 million are using mobile phone, or a number of them are using mobile phone. And then as against the traditional banking system, you will know the number of them who are on Momo and those who have bank accounts, those who use their ATM cards and those who don't use their ATM cards. And then how many of them have access to internet. And if somebody wants to buy a car and they want to process the registration, how do they go about it? So let's digitalize DVLA and all that. All this is data. So the base data that you have about your population as against the kind of services they need, right? So you are using technology to treat the problem that they have, so you can give them some convenience in terms of the service delivery that they must have. So that's why the passport is the DVLA is digitalized. We have the digital address system, and we have the other sectors, so e-pharmacy and the rest that are being digitalized, and the data at the various health facilities also being connected and centralized, so that when you move from one hospital to the other, at least the hospital can have access to your previous medical records, and hospitals can also communicate with other people if they are dealing with you. So all this thing is data driven, and that data is the reason, is that it is the heart of the economics of technology. If you don't have the data, you cannot measure, you cannot manage, and you cannot even monitor.
Right. Maximus, some of the criticisms of his speech have been that we seem to be skipping processes and going, telling everything at a fast pace, making it seem unachievable. When you're digitizing, is there a base to start from? Have we covered that base as Ghanaians?
Yeah, for the last time, at least from what I know, 93% of Ghana is covered with telecom service. So people can make calls, they can do some data, even though the spread of the various generation of data connection is not even. So you have 4G somewhere, you have 3G somewhere, you have 2G somewhere, and then the other types of the generations of connection is also, spread across, right? So either government triggers, the revolution, or private sector is going to trigger it, or the citizens are going to also trigger the need for various solutions. Because when we started using social media platforms and the various email services, I'm not sure government advertised it or anything, but the consumers found a use for it. Then we started using it. Then when you have more people using the various social media platforms, like you have 8.2 million people using Facebook in Ghana, that should give you an idea as to why people are more interested and engaged on the various online platforms. So if people are spending their attention on the various online channels, it means that when you come up with a technology solution, they are readily going to jump on board as the direct users or indirect advocates of the service. So those are the pointers that you use in adopting that. I am very excited that we have a vice president who is driving the digitalization agenda.
Right.
Other governments have tried one way or the other, but to have a spearhead like the vice president championing that, I'm excited in that space.
Maximus,
Anywhere
when you
you
say
go in
other
this world,
governments have tried, are you saying there was no progress with other governments?
they've done some, right? I'm
Right.
saying that you need a campaigner when it comes to, you want to revolutionize your economy or digitalize your economy. You need a front runner.
Okay.
And to have a vice president championing it, I'm very excited about that. And really, when you check even the developed country, it's not everything that they start or digitalize succeeds immediately. It takes time. You build the momentum, you grow gradually. You have different demography of your economy who will, be pulled into the economics of the digitalization that you are doing gradually based on their need.
Maximus,
So we should be excited that
this is actually a question I wanted to ask, because usually when policy is being implemented, you know that there's a testing phase where it's tested before it's brought out to be publicly implemented. Are we doing that, or are we just testing it directly on ourselves?
I think yesterday the Vice President gave a compendium of some of the piloting that they've done and before the full rollout of some of the services. So I think they've been doing some of the piloting before rolling out the services.
All right. Thank you so much, Maximus. Let me just quickly go to Edem Abana, who I believe is on the line. Hello, Edem.
Hello.
Edem, thank you so much for joining us. You are laughing already.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and have a good evening to you and good evening to all my colleagues on the line, especially my senior brother Maximus, who has been an inspiration and a pioneer in this digital game for so long.
I see. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure Ed, he can hear you, Maximus can hear you. But here's my question. What's your assessment so far of the work done so far with regards to digitization in Ghana?
Well, I think it's important to admit that there cannot be economic growth or economic development in the current in the modern world without digitization and digitalization. The two concepts are very different, and it's important for us to properly distinguish between the two because of the significant difference. I have realized that many of your colleagues in the media and other political communicators seems to try and use the two words together or use them interchangeably when we properly distinguish. So digitization basically is, in the past, what people would call computerization. It's basically about processing data and all that. But in terms of digitalization, it's a bit more transformational, where you engage the processes and advanced technology and in what we do here in every sector of the economy. It is good for Ghana's economy to be moving towards that, because all the research points, two things are going to drive growth, two things are going to drive development in the next couple of years: digitization and urbanization. And so it's a good concept, and I'm happy we are having this conversation. But we have to situate the conversation properly, looking at our own unique challenges, and understand that what has been the impact of these advanced technologies or digital platforms that we have on the ordinary Ghanaian like myself. And so that is where we have to be shifting the conversations to, so and digitalization of the economy. But we need to really assess the impact of these digital platforms and the digital interventions that we have had over the years and see the impact. I listened to Dr. Baumia. I read the 65 pages of his speech or presentation to point out some half truths, some not true, some lies, complete lies, some over exaggerations. And then so I would want to focus on that. But the whole idea of digitization and digitalization is a great concept. It's something that the people of Ghana need, and we must focus on that.
Where are the areas in his speech that concern you? You mentioned that some of them you think are not feasible?
Well, before I even come to feasibility, let me even state that first. I think that Dr. Baumia was economical with the truth yesterday by not properly acknowledging the foundation on which he is building, or this government is building, some of the digital platforms or interventions. For example,
Adam, what's the foundation?
1,000 kilometers. Yes. So, for example, I'm giving you quite a number of examples. Okay. I mean, but for the 1,000 kilometer rural fiber network from Accra to Boku, which covered 6 regions: Greater Accra, Volta, Oti, Northern Region, Upper East, Northeast, and all of that. Many of these digital platforms that he's talking about, including even the zipline service, could not have been functional. But the impression was created yesterday as though the processes towards digitization and digitalization started in January 2017 under the President Akufo-Addo government. For me, that has been economical with the truth, because President Mahama and the NDC deserves a lot of mention when it comes to the kind of infrastructure that investments that were made into the digitalization of our policies. Again, the 300-kilometer radius metro fiber network within Accra and Tema, with the capacity to offer Wi-Fi and other ICT services to millions of Ghanaians and businesses, were deployed by the President Mahama government. And so these are just some of the interventions. Mobile money interoperability, for example, that project is not a President Akufo-Addo government legacy. It is a project that started by President Mahama. You recall that indeed, when they came into power, one of the things, the accusations that they had against the NDC was that the cost at which that project was negotiated was overpriced, and that they had beaten the price down. And so how is it that all of a sudden a negotiation that had gone on, contracts that were signed, and you said the contracts were oversigned, and even some members of our government were invited for interrogation, that project has come to see the light of day, and all of a sudden you make it appear as though that project started in 2017. Why then were you investigating the previous government officials for, and all of that? So the mobile money interoperability, for example.
Interoperability was launched in 2018.
Yes, but you see, the issue is that I agree with Maximus when he said that even in the advanced economies, some of the digital policies or interventions, you don't really see it. It takes time for you to see the impact.
Okay.
The government of Ghana and the people of Ghana did not wake up in 2018 and began building the interoperability platform. It started way back. And that is how come even the agreements were signed and reached under the NDC government. That is why there was even these issues. So I've made specific reference to the fact that there was a situation where even Dr. Baumia himself accused the NDC of overpricing, that particular engagement, that particular contract. So who started the interoperability? If not the NDC government, why then were you investigating the former deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana and other officials of the NDC government with regards to the value of the interoperability platform? So it did not start in 2018. The platform was built, everything started under President Mahama and the NDC. And so many of these, I can give you countless examples, but my focus is that when you look at all of these policy interventions that we're talking about, what has really been the impact? What has been the value in the lives of the ordinary Ghanaian? That is what we should be talking about.
Right. Thank you, Adam. Let me just come to Ellen, who has joined us in the studio now. Thank you so much, Ellen. You're welcome. Hi. I think the traffic caught you up a little bit.
Yeah, I did.
But thank you for joining us here. Ellen is a member of the NPP's communications team. So quickly, you heard the Vice President's speech. We took a snippet of it before you came. Should we play it again?
No, I listened attentively.
Oh, okay. Now, some Ghanaians believe that the plans that were outlined are quite flamboyant, especially the e-passport. How are these going to be implemented?
Good evening to you, and good evening to my two brothers on the line. Are they there or they are gone?
Which ones are your brothers? We have
both of them, Edem, and I don't know.
Okay, there are 4 people.
But as for Edem, I know him quite well.
He's your brother?
Yes,
okay,
my brother on the other side. Hi, Edem, when are you coming back home? Because I know he's out of Ghana.
Oh, okay.
And yes, typical Ghanaian attitude. Things have to be done. Okay. We are the ones asking for things to be done.
Yeah, for change.
Recently, earlier on in this year, the young people of this country took to their feet and to the streets, asking the government to fix the country.
Fix, yes.
So this is part of the fixing of the country.
Okay.
So for us to suddenly start asking that it is too flamboyant, well, I don't know what sort of explanation to give. What he said, Have we have examples of it being done? Has it been achieved somewhere before? Is it possible? If others have done it, why can't we do it? And we've had examples of it being done right here. I mean, they've had the pilots work in most of these things. Some have already been in the system for a very, very long time. Look at the Ghana card, for instance. We've been at the Ghana card for how many years now? Almost 20 years, trying to identify who a Ghanaian is, who a foreigner is. And it's taken us 20 years to do it. So just as they said, some of these things you start, you fail. But you have to start it. So for me, it's not him being flamboyant or being or exaggerating. We need to get our systems going. We need to get Ghana fixed. And that is exactly what the Vice President and the President and the NPP were voted into power to do. And that is what we are doing. We can look at the implementation. The issues that will come with it, and the fact that some haven't even succeeded. We can look at all that. But to think that we cannot do it, I think it's a defeatist.
I think one of the reasons
I do not like to.
I think one of the reasons people are not certain about their achievability is because some things have been mentioned, like drones, using drones to deliver blood, which they do not think has been.
Who said it hasn't been done?
Let me learn. Fully implemented. Not that it hasn't been done. It hasn't been fully implemented.
So it's a process. I've been there. For me, that project is something I was there. I was at the Suhum place where they do it. And you know the number of drones that take off every day? Averagely, the last time I was there, they were telling me about 15 or 20 drones take off every day. Daily. Delivering medicines, delivering blood, delivering essential things that the hospitals would have taken 24 hours to get. And some get it in 15 minutes, some in 10 minutes, some in 20 minutes. So the fact that they are not making so much noise about it doesn't mean that it's not working. It is. And it is saving lives. The fact that we want it all over Ghana, that is what we all wish. But it is a process. And at least I know of three areas where they do that. The Suhum one is where I have been to, the others I haven't. And it is working. And so if you tell me that because you think or you haven't checked and you think that it is not working, it is not there, it is there. You can check. Suhum is not too far from Accra. It can be checked.
There's also the question of CCTVs, which was mentioned, where security is concerned. Some people say there's an outstanding promise where all police stations were promised to have CCTVs. This promise
I
was made
do not remember that.
In 2018, I think there was a policeman who was gruesomely murdered. The Vice President made a promise that all police stations would have CCTV cameras. And at the time he was speaking, apparently, National Security Minister Kandapa had mentioned that 6,500 cameras had currently been installed. And just at the same time, the Vice President also mentioned that 10,000 cameras had been installed already. So there was a bit of a confusion in people's minds.
So
which figure
has it been done or hasn't been done? And after 2018 till now, how many have been installed? And in what he just said yesterday, I remember him saying over 100,000 are going to be installed. Are you not seeing evidence of the cameras around? Or you don't see it? I mean, let's be realistic.
No, I think the question here is not evidence of the cameras. There are the cameras clearly. Some of it has been done. As to how many, if the minister is given a different
figure... Then we
have
to check. I don't have those figures because I don't work there. It will be very difficult for me to sit here and tell you how many has been done. What is important to me that it is being done. We can go into the figures later. But, I mean, it's very easy to check these things. Let's check and find out how many has been done so far. How many do we even need? Do you even know what we need? The Vice President is telling us that we need over 100,000 for the countrywide one. I have been, this last weekend I was on my way to Kwahu. I saw some around the Nyinem. I saw the poles being, and Nyinem one was fixed. I mean, it was working. After Nyinem, I saw some of the poles being done. So all these things will be done. It's just that it cannot all be done at a go. It will be unrealistic to ask a government that has started this to do it all in a year or two. It is a process and it will be done.
You think it will be done by 2024?
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully. In 2024, we can actually take the figures and look at this. But before you even take the figures, you have to ask what was there before the government took over. And Nedem was busily trying to point us out to what he terms as half-truths and exaggerations. with all due respect, when you start something and you do not finish, you do not claim credit for it when somebody
But
else
it's
comes
an
to
adequate
finish.
foundation
When
built on, no?
somebody else comes to finish what you started. It's just that, like marrying a woman, you could impregnate her, somebody impregnates her, she has a child, and you're going around making noise. That was my wife, that was my wife, that was my wife. The child, I did the base for the child. I mean, that's exactly what they are trying to do. Let's accept that it has been done, and it was done in the NPP's time. Moving on, any other thing that you also do, or if you ever come into power anytime soon, which hopefully you would not, because I would have to be president because before they come back
Before,
into
sorry,
power.
before
Yes,
who comes to power?
the NDC comes back into power, and I'll be president in 2060 something. So, when they get there and whatever we have done, and it is a foundation, they would have to build on it, and they can take the credit for it. But we could have ignored it. We could have not done it. And so if we have done it and we are announcing it, you do not sit somewhere and cry. And we are behaving like crybabies.
Right. Thank you so much, Ellen. Let me go to our other economist who is on the line. Daniel Enim, sorry, I left you for the last, but we are definitely getting your comments. If we listen to the Vice President's speech, there was an input about digital currency. How easy is it going to be to implement digital currency in Ghana? Are there any challenges we're anticipating, or is it going to be a process like mobile money was done? Kindly unmute yourself if you can hear me, because I can't hear you at all. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. The issue of e-currency, to me, I think is a very good initiative. But to answer you, that depends on how the whole system is designed. The last time I had the opportunity of listening to, I think Mr. Sapon, the head of FinTech at the Bank of Ghana, he did explain that they put in mechanisms to ensure that the e-currency work perfectly. And to me, the issue of illiteracy within the economy is not an issue. It is rather dependent on how flexible and how the ease of use of any technology, to me, is very fundamental and critical. It doesn't matter even your level of education. If the system is so robust, that may deter people from using any technology, using any e-commerce, any e-governance platform. So to me, the e-currency is good, but it ought to be done in a way that it will be that flexible, just like the mobile thing is flexible. My mommy, who is not educated, is able to do that. Friends, down below that level are using it perfectly without any sweat, so to speak. So to me, I think it's a very good thing. But there are challenges. That is ability to communicate well. I think one of my colleagues stated it where he made reference to NCC and then the adult education. To me, education and communication is very critical. Critical because the communication mechanism or machinery ought to be designed in a manner that people can follow through the process in terms of how the use of e-currency, the benefits, and one that is communication is properly done, and that will trigger or induce people to actually patronize the whole thing. Then the second aspect has to do with when we are using any electronic platform, there's some of the challenges that goes with it. People try to hack the system and then a whole lot. Whether mechanisms have been put in place to do that. And to quote the head of FinTech at the Bank of Ghana, there again, what he said was that they're working very hard, putting in systems and mechanisms to ensure that some of this concern that I'm raising would be addressed. So to answer you, to me, I think the e-currency is good because gradually we are moving towards the cashless economy. And these are some of the innovations. I listened to a documentary on Japan, and one of the things that they said is that most of the innovations and most of the technological advancement that they've experienced were as a result of try and error. Once they put the concept into motion, they learn along the process and they nationalize the whole policy. So for instance, I've listened to my good friend Edem and Madam from the MPP side trying to say, oh, we started something, we are ending the thing. I think any policy that is very critical to the development of this nation must have a national character. A national character means that if party A starts it, okay, and another party should know that this thing is a continuity, that chain of command, and at the end of the day, credit should be accorded to the whole system. Okay, if we can think in this particular direction about the view, most projects that have been abandoned will not be done, because what we are doing now is, I have started something, I have completed it. It must have a national character. It must have a national policy. So for instance, if tomorrow I become a president as an independent candidate, I should be able to follow through with that policy and execute it to the benefit of the citizen. So to me, these are some of the things that we should be looking at as political parties, as political artists, and as analysts, so that we do not just say we are crediting or we are awarding or apportioning credit to the man who have started it or the man who have executed it. I think, to me, digitalization agenda is very fantastic. I'm for it. But all that I'm asking is that it must have a national character. It must have a clear line policies, so that whoever takes over the affairs or the management of this nation, the next election, should be able to follow that. Look, this is a policy that we're pursuing as a people, which has the propensity of stimulating economic growth and development. So that, for instance, tomorrow, if CPP should come to power, if NDC should come to power, if any other party comes to power, we'll not say, oh, this is an MPP project, and they just throw it into the dustbin. Not at all. That is not the way we developed a nation, and that's not the way we can stimulate economic growth and development. There must be that continuity, and there must be a clear policy direction in this particular respect. So these are some of my reservations, but of course, it's a very good project, and it ought to be executed in a way that will benefit all of us.
Daniel, there was also the point of signing on to the International Civil Aviation Organization. How is this exactly going to help us in the aviation space?
What I know is that in respect of the aviation sector, is global in nature. You cannot operate in isolation. There are global standards that you must conform to, and whatever policy that is introduced, you should be able to align with it if you want your, let me say, your sector, your aviation sector, to be competitive and to have that global niche. You need to do that. So to me, I think it is in the right direction. Once that particular policy is going to give us a competitive edge within the sub-region, it's going to facilitate air traffic, and it's going to ensure that more airlines come to this direction, and also to minimize any aviation-related issue. Is this a good project? Because anything we do, we are in a global village. You cannot design a system that is only restricted to your local economy. It must have a global perspective, a global nature. So designing the system and synchronizing it with the global system, to me, I think it's a perfect thing, but it ought to be done very well, so that at the end of the day, we do not sacrifice, issues of national security. We do not invest money into areas that at the end of the day, we do not have the competence to manage. So there must be a clear policy to support that particular agenda. But to answer you in a very simplistic manner, I think it's a very good thing, because the aviation sector is a global sector, and you cannot operate independent of what happens within that global space.
All right, Daniel, thank you there. Let me bring in the other economists. Muntaka. Muntaka, are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yes, I just wanted to get your reaction on the point the Vice President made, that mobile money interoperability should be credited for the growth in the mobile money business space.
Thank you very much. Well, I think the interoperability has allowed the free flow of cash between people and has reduced our interaction with physical cash. And also it has helped some of the, not all the informal sector, but some, especially the retailers, are now using the mobile money to be able to transact business, of which I think is very good. And also some restaurants, some petty traders are also using the money interoperability platform to be able to transact business, which is good, and which also provides government a lot of information as to how the informal sector is working and how they can, be able to tax and get their revenues from them. It's good, but not in whole, because people also have issues with the interoperability system in regards to how do I make transfer. I know some don't charge fees, Some, when you are doing from one network to another network, some don't charge fees.
I think
Others
that
also
usually
charge
they
too
do. There's
high.
just one promotion presently by one specific network that doesn't
Yeah,
charge
it's
the
only one
fees.
specific network. And
Yes.
when you look at the charges for me, I think is a bit too high. Because if my old lady in the village wants to take 100 Ghana cedis, or you send 100
Yeah,
Ghana
one
cedis,
city.
1% of that money is gone. And perhaps her budget or whatever she wants to use the money for has gone down, and her situation is not even better. So
But
you
the
have to,
networks also need
now
to
you
pay
have
for transaction costs. So
so the issue is this: because the operators are being burdened with tax, so they have to
okay.
also shift the tax to the mobile money operators, those
Okay.
those who are within the mobile money sector. So it's a sword with that has two cutting edges. Once it is helping some people benefit well, the other side is also killing some people because now if I
But how
have
do
a
we
budget
achieve
and
the
I want to send,
balance so both sides are at least taken care of?
I think that the taxes, the government depends so much on the network operators in terms of tax revenue generation. So reducing that burden on them a little bit could also reduce, because whatever the government puts on them, they shift it to the final consumer. It is the final consumer that suffers. So if the government can find other alternatives of raising much more revenue and reduce the taxes that is being put on these operators, I think the poor woman who is transacting or using the mobile money system will also be relieved a little bit.
Would you say we've achieved financial inclusion?
Yes, I think financial inclusion, yes, because now, not in whole, I can't say 100%, but majority of Ghanaians now have more than one or two mobile money accounts, and it helps them to also be able to transact businesses. Not like the olden days where people need to queue in the banks to look for money, people who don't even know how to, what do you call it, read and write. The illiterate ones are finding it even difficult to go and queue in banks or open an account. But with the mobile money, at least, even when when government is planning its what do you call it, LEAP program and other social programs, they use mobile money to be able to send them cash transfers to them, and it has helped more people to come on board. And government can it has helped more people to come on board so that we know that now, if I'm in a poor village in Zavlugu or in Nadoli, I can send money to someone, not necessarily going to the bank, just by with my mobile money. And so the inclusion has been expanded to include more people, but there's still more to do. There's still more to do.
Great, thank you. Let me go to Maximus because there's another question that has arisen out of this, where there's a question of how digitization can solve across traffic. There wasn't much focus on that. Maximus, let me come to you with this one. How can we leverage digitalization as it's being rolled out to solve across traffic?
That's a whole lecture.
Give us the summary.
Yes. So the summary is that now that we have cameras fixed around, in fact, almost every junction supposed to have I think one of the 17,000 cameras that they are fixing nationwide. And we know technologies like Google Maps and the rest have a traffic monitoring system, and they can also project the traffic situation on the road. So there will be a blend of the third-party applications and then the cameras. You know, a lot of the developed countries don't use automated traffic systems. They use the manual traffic system, and the manual traffic system requires a setup of the technology infrastructure on the roads. So you have sensors, you have cameras, and then there's also a mix of the cars that are also moving, or the devices within the car. So if you have mobile phones also within the car, they can use the mobile phone to project the traffic situation based on how they are distributed on the road, and the sensors also on some of the roads and with the cameras. So they now use the cameras to project that, okay, this lane is moving faster and it has more cars, so we should give it more time for the cars to pass. Then this lane has less cars and it doesn't, move into a faster lane. So let's delay that one a little bit. So you now manually control the traffic and the flow of traffic instead of automating it, because normally the automation doesn't give a clear representation of the situation on the grounds by way of giving the cars or the lanes a fair distribution of the traffic. So that's how you can use technology. And when the cameras come on mainstream, I'm sure the command centers can be able to manage the traffic situation. Now, of course, the traffic is not just technology. Why should we have more than 50% of the cars in Ghana in a small region like Accra? 80% of passengers being moved by 15% of the cars, and the vice versa. So there's also a development or a transport geography problem that needs to be solved in addition to the technology that we use to augment the solution.
Maximus, but these cars are only going to grow in number, with time. Because if we already have
and
too many...
Yes, that's why we need other means of transport than just increasing lanes on the streets.
Okay.
So we need other means of transport and distributing, the pull and push factor. Why are people moving from one location to the other in vehicles? And why should one person sit in a vehicle that can seat 5 people? So where you have 100 cars, you have only 100 people instead of 500 people. So we need common sense solutions to solve that before we use technology to augment it.
Right. Now, let me just come to the next question, which is a privacy question, because a lot of people are worried about data breaches and being vulnerable to identity theft where all this digitalization is concerned. But before you answer that, let me just open the phone lines. Our audience is agitating. So 0550-331511. Again, 0550-331511. And 020-4738-481. The number again is 020-4738-481. We don't have much time, so we'll just take a few questions from the audience. But Maximus, how do we protect our privacy?
Your privacy starts from the information you also withhold. Usually we use a lot of online platform and we give it so much information. You're on Facebook, you're posting everything. I'm here, I'm in the house, and then you do a GPS location of your app. A lot of the times you don't even know that when you use a camera, a phone to take a picture, the picture has imprints of your location and other data or metadata that you never know. So, and the digitalization that we're currently using, most of the information that we even give or use are public information, your name, your phone number, and then your ID card. So those are things that are not really, something that you need to hide. But the system that are running or managing this platform, the identification, the Momo platforms, or the other solutions that they are providing, they need to secure the data, protect it from attacks and hacking or vulnerability, so that you know that whatever information you're also giving is also safe and secured on the platform to ensure your privacy.
Let me just get back to Edem. Sorry, let me take this call before. There's a caller from Takoradi on the line. Hello, good evening. Your name, please, and your contribution. Takoradi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, please. Give us your submission.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please, go ahead.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is that the program is really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, the program is really nice, but the presenter actually did something I didn't like. Actually, this is a general program that is being heard, but she allowed Adam and the other NPP lady to make it something like a political show.
Right.
But this isn't a political show.
Okay, we hear you. So
to stick to the digitalization issue that it is doing, then that is very
You don't think that includes the MPP and the NDC anyway? You think that doesn't include the NDC or MPP anyway?
Yes.
Okay, we hear you. Thank you so much for your contribution. Let me quickly go to Agona Swedro. We have another caller on the line from Agona Swedro. Maxwell.
Yeah, hello.
Right, Maxwell, we're listening.
Oh, okay. I'm really enjoying the show, and there is something I want to say about your question about what the Vice President said about the CCTV cameras restoration. And
right.
Yesterday I was also listening to him very attentively, and I really enjoyed the initiative about and he was saying they have already installed about 6,700 and something, but you were trying to ask the madam, the MPP communication member in the studio there, and
right.
he was trying to, say what the Vice President said, but it was really good. It was really good.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that.
Thank you very much for your submission. Let me just go back to Adam. Yes, Adam, quickly, when we look at the sustainability of these ideas, we see that initially there was a disconnect there between who started and who continued. How sustainable will these ideas be if, for example, if the NDC wins in 2024, will we see a continuation of these projects that have been outlined by the Vice President?
Commitments to continue whatever projects that this current administration would have started. Again, we are also talking about technology. With technological trends, these are global things, and it's not an NDC MPP era issue. Whether we like it or not, there is penetration of mobile money. And that is why I disagree with the Vice President when he said the mobile money interoperability can be credited for the growth in the usage of the mobile money platform all around sub-Saharan Africa. The record shows that globally, Africa is having 2/3 of the share of the global share of the use of mobile money. Why? Because we still have issues of financial inclusion. We have issues of not having access to banking systems and all of that. So, and also due to the high dependency rate. So, these are research. These are things that are of fact. Again, you asked a very important question about sustainability. These things are only sustainable when people build on the foundations that already have been laid and without trying to unnecessarily politicize these things. Because at the end of the day, this infrastructure that we're talking about, like I earlier hinted, systems run on infrastructure. Every technological system, whether it be a database system, it runs on infrastructure. And you do all of these things together as a nation. And that is why, even when you look at the 40-year development plan, there is a huge part of that document that talks about digitalization and the plan to ensure that we rope in the ordinary Ghanaian. But for me, and for many other Ghanaians, the key questions about sustainability will border on one: how have these platforms impacted on the cost of doing business? Let's take the paperless port, for example. If you go to the ports today, the reality is that many of the freight forwarders and the stakeholders in that are complaining, many patrons are complaining that things have become extremely expensive. And you are in the media, you would have heard these complaints continuously. So it means that even though in other jurisdictions, digitization and digitalization is leading to cheaper way of doing business, in our part of the world, it's even more expensive. Come back to mobile money interoperability. We have a problem with double charging. So if I'm sending money to my mom at home in Georgia, what she will do is that I will pay charges on it. If she's going to withdraw that money, she's also going to pay charges on it. So that makes it payment of charges at both ends. And so these are key questions that we have to be looking at.
Right.
So what is the cost of some of these platforms?
Reducing
Can we
the
focus
cost
on how? Yes, we have to focus on reducing the cost. Right. And that is it. And one other thing about sustainability is also about
Ed, 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, in 30 seconds, it's also about education. People have mentioned the NCC and all of that, the security. The truth is that the network providers also have a big role to play in this. Because I know, for example, so many people who are beginning to move away even from mobile money also because of the insecurity that comes with it. In the past few months or years, we have seen so many frauds or scandalous things where people are able to have access to your number, have access to your PIN. They will call you, ask you to enter into something, and you are dealing with a population where a significant portion of Ghanaians are not literate. And so these are the aspects of these platforms that we have to be looking at.
Thank
How do
you
we
so
educate
much.
people
That's the
to understand
privacy
the security
aspect.
implications and all of that?
Yeah, I remember Maximus did make a bit of submission on privacy. But let me just quickly come to Ellen. We have a question from one of the viewers. He says, exactly how is this fixing the country, as you mentioned? Sami Jemfi asked how all these will contribute to the rate of unemployment, for instance, and fighting corruption. No, you stick to how this is fixing the country. You mentioned earlier that they asked you to fix the country.
Well,
and that is what is being done.
The new opportunities in technology would definitely bring on more jobs for the youth because we'll have to get in there and get the systems to work, and we need human beings to get the systems to work. So definitely new opportunities are opening up for the businesses. And if you remember, the Vice President made a particular call to the youth to get involved because there's so much we can do in there. I mean, if you have a business, this is the time to quickly get your business online. COVID taught us that lesson, that we need to also have an online presence for all our businesses. And these are all things that can give us extra income and extra jobs to the young people. So that's also part of fixing the country. Because jobs are also part of what we're asking for, or they were not.
Thank
were they
you.
not?
They are.
Thank you.
I have a call from Japon. Are you still on the line? Let me just take you as the last caller to close the program. Hello, Japon. Okay, we just lost him there, but that's fine because there's another caller. Adam, let's just quickly, yes. Please wrap up the show for us.
Yes, good evening.
Adam, we're listening.
Yes, good evening. My name is Adam Mohammed. I'm calling from Tamale.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm so happy listening to your guests and the topic that they are discussing.
Right.
Digitalization is very important to Ghana, but my problem that I'm having is to do with the model, the way that they are doing it. Most of our people are living in the rural areas, and digitalization is not up into that rural places. For instance, I can remember during 2009, 2010, thereabouts, DPEC started a piloted project within the rural areas, building up IT centers, which has been halted. I don't know this time how this current government will take those projects and how they have to develop it so that the rural areas will also enjoy, and also sensitization. The majority of us do not understand the digitalization issue and what they have to do and what the importance of digitalization to us as citizens. So at least sensitization, the state must educate the citizens so that we can go along with the intent or intentions of the government. It's very laudable.
Thank you so much, Adam. That's Adam from Tamale telling us that digitalization is not rural enough. So hopefully that's one thing to factor in as these policies are implemented across board. And we've been speaking with an economist, Daniel Enim. We've also been speaking with a tech expert, Maximus Ametogo, and a member of the NPP's communications team, Ellen Amada, who is in the studio with me with a nice haircut, and Deputy National Youth Organizer of the National Democratic Congress, Edem Agbana. We also spoke with Mohammed Muntaka Abdul Rahman. He's an economist. And to you at home, thank you so much for staying with us. We have the news coming up next with Marie-France Fojo. Stay with us.